Thank you all, and thank you for that amazing introduction. I'm Oladosu Adenike, the founder of I Lead Climate, an eco-feminist, eco-reporter, and I specialize in peace, security, equality in Africa, especially the Lake Chad region. And I'm glad to be in your midst today. I have a story, an everyday reality for someone like me from the global south. I'm from the part of the world where we account for the lowest carbon footprint, but bear the biggest impact of the climate crisis. I'm not saying this because I want you to feel pity for us. Neither am I saying this because I want you to just imagine our everyday struggles. Rather, I am saying this because I want you to act. It is also an injustice unto us that the $100 billion annual commitment from global North leaders are yet to be fulfilled. You don't play politics with climate change, else it will consume us all. In Africa, climate change is no longer a threat, but a reality. Invariably, climate change is now a global reality. And what scares me most is that climate change is the only pandemic that has no vaccine. And if we don't build back better from COVID-19, then we are doomed. In Africa, climate change is no longer a threat. And I am worried about the fact that the present, because any action we take, we bind on us all. The hope therein is that the climate movement has the face of young people, because the youth are tomorrow's adults. Remarkably, women and girls are at the forefront of the fight for climate justice. I advocate for a green democracy that seeks to include the voice of our environment. Because if nature is left out of our democratic agenda, women and girls will suffer the most. Hence, the more we involve women and girls in adapting to these systems, the better our democracy. And right now, nature is the most powerful asset the world needs in normalizing our world from crisis. I remember when I was an undergraduate student, I heard about the 276 schoolgirls that were adopted from their school in Chibok, Borno State in Nigeria, which is the closest state to the shrinking Lake Chad. This led to an international outcry of bring back our girls. This was the incident that made me an eco-feminist, because to some of these girls, it could be a point of no return. Our society must be a safe place for women and girls to have their voice, action, and perspective in making our world better. There are two schools of thought. The first claim that to tackle climate change, we need more and better democracy. The second school of thought asserts tackling climate change, in fact, requires the suspension of democracy together. There is a meeting point to this school of thought, which is ecofeminism. The direct ties between the nature of Lake Chad and the democratic stability in the region shows the extent to which environmental rights are indispensable in our world today. Likewise, countries with the most severe impact from environmental injustice tends to have the weakest democratic institutions. Also, the Niger Delta crisis in my home country, Nigeria, has been a sad reality to my people for decades of untold stories of injustices. The oil spillage has infringed our human rights due to the fact that we are unable to secure drinking water, access to agricultural land, which has turned our land to be oil-ridden soil, health complications, and eventually the loss of livelihoods. The decades of environmental degradation by Shell and other multinational companies have led to the rise of several groups to seek for the protection of their land against unsustainable activities. Crises like this has led people to take arms against their government. This is how climate change drives conflict in my region too. Currently, it is only in sub-Saharan Africa that climate change is leading to armed conflicts. These are the several insecurities that arose from climate change, just like that of Madagascar food crisis that has been named by the World Food Programme as the only country where climate change and not conflicts is leading to food insecurity. I had a current interaction with a climate justice advocate from Madagascar through my YouTube channel, and the activist is addressing the intersection between climate change and food insecurity. The possibility of conflict is the outgrowth of overshooting the threshold of scarcity resources caused by climate change. Not acting on climate change is a crime against our human rights, because we can't have a secured human right if our environments are not safe for all. Also, postponing climate action into the future is the most dangerous thing to do, because for every degree of warming, there is always a greater or equal impact of climate change on humans and biodiversity. In a world impacted by climate change, how do we quarantine? How do we isolate when flood has taken over our houses? Or how do we isolate when our land is already taken by drought? We can no longer predict rainfall pattern, which is where the food insecurity lies. Likewise, permafrost is melting, the iceberg is on free fall, losing its gravity every day. The glaciers are melting away. This is not normal. It is not normal when we have to forcefully migrate. Neither is it normal when we can't recover greener. I once read a news headline that described the science as failing because the unprecedented floods in Germany that claimed lives and destroyed properties. I see that statement as a straight denial of the existential threat from climate change, because the science has been telling us what to do, but we are not listening yet. Another of its kind of report has been released by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, of which I find to be disturbing because it further emphasizes that climate change is a reality and no longer a threat. Climate change undermines our existence. It is not enough to declare climate emergency. Neither is it enough to sign agreements. The starting point is when we walk the talk. We put those agreements and commitments into real action. Also, I've never seen where a voluntary commitment ever makes a move for an action to be completed. Sometimes I wonder why we have to target 1.5 degrees of warming rather than aiming for less than 1 degree of warming. The world is not warmed to 1.5 degrees, yet we are faced with this unprecedented crisis of our time. Then what do you think will happen if the world warms by 1.5 degrees? If we don't act and we wait for 2030 or 2050, we are setting the pace for a warmer world. Also, if it takes the world to get vaccine for everyone to be safe from COVID-19 pandemic, what will it take the world to keep us safe from climate change? If we don't stop climate change, it will stop our activities. We can't stay on the fence anymore. Likewise, any decision we take now counts for the present and the future generations. By the end of this decade, we must have either win or lose the race against climate change. The cost of acting now is far important than the cost of acting later. This is worthy to note that if Africa is not safe, definitely Europe is not safe. Hence, nowhere is safe until everywhere is safe. We are in a race against time, and the time to act is now. Thank you.